Hello and welcome to My Mom's Basement, presented by Barstool Sports and 3Chi. I am your host, Robbie Fox. Along with me is my co-host, Clem from Earth 616. And as you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, he's wearing, well, I don't know if I could say he's wearing a Spider-Man costume. He's attempting to wear a Spider-Man costume. I know in the first movie, we heard like the mask always fits, the suit always fits. Might not be the case here.
This is Spider Clem, attempting to wear AJ's little costume right here. He just found this thing the other day. I don't think he even knew Spider-Man was coming out. So not gonna fit me. I think about first grade was the last time something like this would have fit me. But Bob, we have some spider fever here in the basement right now. We are having a fucking. This is gonna be fun. I feel like we're gonna have a fun one. No spoil. We'll talk a little bit. No spoilers. Then spoilers. Then our Succession circle back, last one of all time, unfortunately. But man, what a movie. Woo!
What a movie. This lived up to the hype. It's so nice getting a superhero movie that we anticipate like we anticipated this one, and then to have it knock it out of the park. And I left that theater like stoked. I left being like, oh my God, I cannot wait for them to wrap up this trilogy in, I don't know, I hope it's not another 5 years. But these movies, they're the most beautifully animated movies ever. So if it takes them 5 years to make these movies, you know what? Take the 5 years because, oh my God, what a sore for the eyes this movie was. The different look for every different universe, the way the characters meshed on screen together. Not since Who Framed Roger Rabbit has there been a visual eyesore like this movie.
Oh, wait, visual eyesore, isn't that a bad thing?
Is it?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a very bad thing.
I meant it as a good thing. We're taking it back. We're making it a good thing.
That reminds me, when I was young, I asked my mom, I said, Mom, is the word despicable a nice thing? And she's like, yeah. Like, I don't think she heard me. And I was like, Mom, you're despicable. Because I remember Daffy Duck used to always say it. And she's like, what did you just say? And I went from trying to give the nicest compliment of all time to basically getting in trouble.
An eyesore is something bad. It's not something beautiful.
Let's see here. I'm going to look it up live on the pod. Eyesore, a thing that is very ugly, especially a building that disfigures a landscape. But put that on the poster right there. This movie was an eyesore. Robbie Fox, Barstool Sports.
I didn't mean that.
I didn't mean
that. Listen, but that's the hashtag for this week right away. I mean, eyesore.
Hashtag eyesore, 100%. What would be eye candy? It was eye candy.
Eye candy, yes. That's a perfect way to put it because it was bright like candy too. When you go to Mumbattan and we meet Spider-Man India, the whole look of that world, beautiful. Then you get Gwen Stacy and it's the watercolor, which is very much like her comic book and everything. So cool. Spider-Punk, my favorite design in the movie. That Sex Pistols, patchy, cutout look, all the colors changing constantly. Man, this was awesome.
Metal.
Well, it was punk, but metal.
Punk
you know, the villain, Spot. I thought Spot was very well used in this movie. And obviously you set up for a little more of Spot in the next movie. No spoilers. That's a little bit of a spoiler, I guess. But I liked Spot. I liked the way that they treated Spider-Man 2099, Miguel O'Hara, Oscar Isaac. What a role for him. He wasn't in a lot of the movie, but when he makes his mark in the third act, he makes it known that he is someone that I think is not to be messed with, essentially. But everything about this movie I loved. There was one issue I had. Well, one issue with the movie, one issue with my experience. My one issue with the movie, I think it was a little bit too long. I think you could have chopped a little bit down, especially towards the end. It did that Return of the King thing where there was like 3 or 4 moments where I thought credits are about to hit, and then there was another scene. But my one issue with my Across the Spider-Verse experience was I had a couple rowdy teens sitting right next to me in the theater. There's nothing worse than rowdy teens in a movie theater. Nothing worse. And I knew it the second they walked in. One of them came right up to me, like walked up to me during trailers and loudly was like, "Is this the theater for Spider-Man?" And his friends were like giggling. And I was just like, oh God.
No, he's one of those, huh? Like,
so making a scene. Yeah. I was like, yeah, this is Spider-Man. And he's like, thanks, man. He put out his hand to like shake my hand. And I was just like, oh, it's going to be one of those movies, isn't it? The second the Spider-Verse movie starts, they start screaming their heads off. Nonsense. Like nothing to do with Spider-Man, not excitement for the movie. Just like kids making kid noises. So I let out the most old man sigh I've ever let out. And I went, oh, please don't ruin the movie for us, guys. And one of them in response had the worst response ever. He goes, I watched it on YouTube last night. Don't worry. Which I was just like, Oh God. I was like, it's gonna be one of those. And then for the rest of the movie, they were talking, but they also just coughed and burped as loud as they could throughout the movie. And behind us, right behind us, we had a sick pervert. And when I say a sick pervert, I don't mean he was like a jerking off sick pervert. He might have taken an edible before this movie or something. And it sounded like he was trying to repress his coughs throughout the movie. It sounded like he was trying to cough, 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 but he was trying to hold them in. So every, I don't know, maybe once, twice a minute, we would hear, "Ugh, ugh." Like he was trying to hold it, like making these weird, almost sexual noises.
Fuck.
Clem, this movie was awesome. And it really speaks to how awesome it was that I still enjoyed it. I need to go back and get like an uninterrupted experience because I could barely focus between the sick pervert and the rowdy teens.
Bob, I don't like giving out free ads. These motherfuckers never even contacted us after we went to see Guardians. That's why Alamo's the best. You basically, it's like two strikes you're out. Like they'll warn you, and then you get thrown out for talking, for being on your phone. They might not have even made it in the theater with the old handshake. You know, those kids, they probably are laughing about it all this morning. We were all dumb kids and did stupid shit at some point, but just the worst. Let me tell you about my experience, Robbie. There was a bunch. I only thought there was going to be like 4 showings that day. I thought premiere night, and I didn't realize I didn't scroll down. That was just the IMAX version. Then there was the regular, the laser. I ended up at the Dolby one that has the reclining seats, like the fucking like premium sound. I'm sure that my dumb like half deaf old ass can't even understand. And I had a tremendous time. By the end of it, me and the guy next to me, he's like, wait, do you think? I was like, yeah, I think this. And we were kind of like became pals in the theater. It was a beautiful time. So 2 very different experiences and both just, I mean, 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10. That was the thing. Going into this year, I was excited for it because I really like the first one, right? Should we just start to say spoilers at this point in case?
Spoilers, yeah, we'll get into it. We're 10 minutes into the podcast almost. We can get into spoilers now. So, if you haven't seen a movie, go fucking see it. What are you waiting for? This movie was amazing. It deserves your money. 1,000 animators worked on this project. It deserves your money. Go spend your probably $18 for a ticket. And also, maybe you'll get a poster. We got some posters with
we got some posters there. Fucking sweet. Opening, and it was at AMC. So if you have an AMC, you might be better off, or might just put in premiere night. I don't know. But yeah, it's an opening weekend movie. You don't want to get anything spoiled. It feels like a moment and all that kind of stuff. But going into this, I was like excited because I really liked the first one. I didn't see the first one in the theater. When did the first one even come out? Was it like
2018?
Yeah, 2018.
End of 2018, like December, January-ish, I think.
I'm in new dad funk at that point. AJ was born in 2018, so this makes perfect sense why it wasn't even on my radar. I was excited. I'm like, oh, this will probably be a good movie theater experience because I've only seen it on the screen. And I think I've told you a bunch of times. I had like a copy that I think like half the movie was unfinished. It was just
like storyboards.
It was like, it was like storyboards. I'm like, oh, they really went crazy because it's that kind of movie where they really test the limits of creativity and stuff with that. So this one, I was kind of like, all right, this is going to be good. And I mean, it blew me away. It absolutely. And then when you're hearing 5 stars, best superhero movie ever, one of the best superhero movies, this and that, I'm like, all right, this is way too much. I'm going in with, tempered expectations. You guys are blowing it through the roof. And I mean, it fucking hit them. It hit every single one.
Yeah. I didn't think it was. Did you think it was as good as the first? I didn't think it was quite the level of the first. But like I said last week, the first is like a perfect movie for me and such an easy watch. Like not a scene is wasted. This one is a little longer. I think it's like 2 hours, 20 minutes. Gets a little more convoluted. Not very convoluted. Still a very basic story to follow and everything. But you lose just a little bit of the heart, I think. Just a little bit. And there's still tons of heart in this movie. Don't get me wrong. And it's so close to that first movie. If the first movie is 10 out of 10, this is like a 9.5 out of 10. It's very, very, very close to the first and a very worthy sequel. But I would still rank Into the Spider-Verse, then Across the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, so I think I'm with you there. I did feel a little too long. And again, I was, like 15 minutes, which is a healthy chunk. And I understand you have all these different parts you have to tie together. I do think this one has, I guess, would you say more action than the first one? Because it just feels like the action scenes are just pouring in my brain.
I think so.
But my favorite parts of the first one were all the little jokes and the nods. And you can't really just do that every single time, right? You have to maybe pare it back because they had it in the second one too, just not the same amount. it's kind of like Guardians, right? Where Guardians, they have the jokes, and then it's like certain movies have more or less than others. And it's the same kind of thing where you're feeling it has great comic material, has great action sequences, but it just has a great amount of heart, and it does vary per film. So I think if I had I have to rewatch this one definitely, which I'm going to take the kids to on probably Saturday or Sunday, which, I mean, we're already in the spoilers part. Take your kids. I mean, if you've already watched it, you know, maybe the most kid-friendly superhero movie, which is pretty fucking awesome, right? I have to see them both again, but I'm leaning with you. Right now, I'd say 1, then 2 in that order so far. And by the way, I had no fucking idea there was a 3. So this to be continued. I said, these motherfuckers. I got so mad for like a minute. And then I said, listen, man, I grew up with Back to the Future. They hit you with to be continued, and you're just like, oh man, I got to come back. And that was like without the next one's coming out next year, right? So it's going to be ready to go.
Oh, I don't know if it is. I'm not sure.
I thought I read 2024 was the next one. So I was like, oh, okay. As long as we have a follow-up that's pretty much ready, I'm cool with it. I was mad. But then again, like, you go to the end of, I think about the people that watched Empire, and they're like, oh, I got to go to Jedi now. I have to wait 3 fucking years. That's tough. And that is a much more bigger movie in your life than the Spider-Verse movies are. So I was taken aback. I was a little upset. And I said, you know what? Like, I kind of like that they're bringing back the to be continued. It's kind of like my little bonus track thing with CDs. I like that we kind of have that back in our life. So I thought I read, I know that there's a live action, which our boy Matty Fitz blogged about. There's a live action Miles Morales coming out soon, right?
So that's in the works. Google says Beyond the Spider-Verse, the next one will be March 29th, 2024. If that's true, that would be amazing. I hope that doesn't get delayed or anything. Maybe they made them alongside each other, because until last year, it was Across the Spider-Verse Part 1 and Across the Spider-Verse Part 2. And then they changed the name to just be Across the Spider-Verse Beyond the Spider-Verse, which I actually like a little better. But based on the fact that it was Part 1, Part 2, I was assuming we were going to get a cliffhanger. And you made the Empire comparison. It is kind of like Empire. Like, our hero is in a very tough spot. And it's like, oh, God, how is he going to get out of this? And as soon as you think that, to be continued hits. And we got like a reaction in the theater of like, what? No. Like, people were like, are you kidding me? And you're 2 hours, 20 minutes into the movie there. People wanted to sit longer and watch that story continue. What a great sign that is.
That's perfect. I mean, if you're the person who created it, and you should probably, I would imagine a lot of them probably sit in the theater to get those kind of reactions. Yeah. And that's definitely a good thing, instead of being like, oh, thank God, like my ass is starting to hurt. Get me the hell out of this place. That was the other thing with my theater. And I don't know if it was with yours, other than those numbskull kids, those goddamn kids, Bob. Every little Easter egg, a lot of the little jokes, the little nods, laughs, applauses. And then, there was some claps at the end of it. I'm not a huge clap at the movie guys, unless it's an absolute just home run, but we had a bunch of claps at the end, and it felt warranted. You know what I mean? But that to be continued in my theater, there wasn't much. There might have been a reaction. I was just like, what the fuck is going on right now? Like, we got to finish this up. But at the same point, man, it just means Beyond the Spider-Verse has a whole lot of shit to unpack just from what's there. They're going to set up other stuff along it. And I have a theory here. I have a theory.
Okay.
And this is probably completely wrong. I feel like part of the reason they're going to do it between now and then, and this is probably a bad way to build up for a movie that has nothing is just an innocent movie in this. I feel like something else will be revealed between now and then that's not in the multiverse, whether it's maybe something in Marvel side. Hey, maybe when's Deadpool's not going to be out by then. I'm just trying to think of, there's a lot of there's a lot of multiverse madness going on. I feel like that might sprinkle, and even if it's going from the MCU and Disney all the way to the Sony side of things, I feel like that might be a part of it as well. But yeah, again, we're very much pro, don't always kill off the villain, spin him out like Darth Vader, so then he can come back at some point. And even though this is kind of individual, because it's kind of its own little contained thing, at least as of now, which again, with that live action, it might really sprout out some more. I kind of like how it's now like, villain dead. Let's move on to the next one now. It's like, no, there's some other shit.
And they've evolved him. Like, he looks scarier now. Like, this spot kind of looked goofy when he starts. And by the end of the movie, when he's scribble drawn and the colors are inverted and the way they draw everything around him, I was like, oh shit, he's going to be a little scary in the next movie, I think.
Yeah. And I can't say great villain, a very good villain with potential for greatness, because I don't know if is he a spider villain that you know of?
No, they created him for this movie. So I think the way I said it is, it's a great use of him, because I agree with you. You can't be like, he's such a great villain, but the way they used him in this movie to like show the flashbacks of the first movie, the scribble flashbacks, the black and white stuff was so cool. I don't know who did the voice. Who was the voice of this Spot? Because he sounded super familiar.
He sounded super familiar, right? Let me see.
Was it Jason Schwartzman?
That's who I was thinking. I never know his name. Let's see. Spot. Doing this live on the. Am I on the wrong thing? I'm on the wrong thing here. No, Across the Spider-Verse. Across the Spider-Verse. Why do I not see Spot listed? What's his name?
Just the Spot. It should be.
Jonathan Schwartzman. Yep. Okay. You called it, dude. You fucking called it. Jason Schwartzman. Yep.
Jason from Rushmore. Yeah, the Wes Anderson boy.
Great. The Wes Anderson boy.
The Wes Anderson boy. He's the young boy in Rushmore, right? Let's get into the plot of the movie, I guess. Other than and the one more thing about the Rowdy Teens. They were too cool for school for the movie until they saw the fucking PS4 Spider-Man, and they were all, "Oh, that's the one from the movie. That's the one from the video game. Oh my god!" They're losing their minds. I was like, "Yeah, that's right. You're not too cool for Spider-Man. Nobody's too cool for Spider-Man."
I didn't know why people were freaking out at the one part with the little green guy who looks like an X. And then my guy Heavy Spoilers pointed out that's the Atari Green Goblin. And I'm like, holy shit, crazy? They really went deep into the like that. And that's something that went right over my head. And I'm sure I could watch videos picking apart every single Spider-Man that's in it and every single reference. There's probably just so much fun shit. Did you see the old cartoon Spider-Man? Was he in there?
I saw the old cartoon one. He was in there. He had a quick moment. My favorite random Spider-Man was Peter Parked Car instead of Peter Parker.
And I loved Peter the pig one. What's his name?
Peter Porker.
Peter Porker. I love that motherfucker. So
he was a spider who got bitten by a radioactive pig.
Yes, yeah, exactly. we don't have there's no Spider Pig, right? From The Simpsons. He doesn't make it because he's technically not a Spider-Man, right?
I don't think he makes it in, but he would be fun to be thrown in, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure we could work things out. Things are going pretty well between Disney and Sony. Like, just
don't they own The Simpsons? Yeah, Disney owns The Simpsons, right?
Yeah.
Why not? I feel like if you break it down, he might be like a little pixel in the background of one of those Spider-Verse HQ scenes. Yeah. You know, for decades there's going to be videos made breaking that down. I feel like if you went frame by frame, you wouldn't be able to see everything even on the first go around.
Exactly. And I have to say this too, this movie was good if I feel this way about it, and I didn't have time for popcorn and I still loved it.
I didn't have time for popcorn either. We did food court. We did like the mall food court and then went right to the movies. So I got an icy, but that was it.
I had hit Costco, got my hot dog on the way out, and I have one rule in life. You can't just go in empty stomach and eat popcorn, because then you get popcorn belly, and it's not a good thing, Bob. Popcorn belly is a fucking problem. Then your mouth is all like cottony by the end of the day. It's just bad stuff. So let's recap this movie.
Let's recap it. We open with Gwen Stacy this time, and we get more of her story that was kind of teased and told in the first movie of like Peter Parker was her best friend in her universe. Peter Parker takes some serum. He becomes the Lizard. She accidentally in a fight, he dies. It looks like she killed him. Her dad is kind of after her the whole time. And then we see the Vulture, but not a Vulture from her universe, attacks the Guggenheim. And immediately the look of this Vulture drawn like he was on, what did she call it? Parchment. She was like, "You look like you're on parchment paper or something."
Yeah.
I was like, oh, we're in for a good one. I just knew right away, like, this is the way to kick this movie off. And you introduce the Spider Society. So you've got Spider-Man 2099, Miguel O'Hara, and Jessica Drew, his wife, who is pregnant with a baby. And something's up with Miguel O'Hara right away. I think you could tell when he grabs the Vulture and the police copter like shines a light, and he's like, he has the vampire claws out. He's about to like eat the guy's head. You're like, that doesn't look like something a good guy would do. That's a little strange, isn't it?
Friendly neighborhood Spider-Men don't do that, right?
Yeah. And the way he was drawn, even in the post-credit scene of the first one, dark shadows on his face, always in a dark area. You're like, this guy seems like he's got dark thoughts, dark past. Everything about the guy is a little shady right now, but he gives
shady, dark. All right, Bob.
he gives Gwen Stacy one of their watches, quote unquote watches, that just make them go interdimensional without glitching, like we saw in the first movie when they glitch and go to different universes. So we catch back up with Miles, recap the first movie a little bit. So if you don't remember the first movie, they will give you a little recapper on Uncle Aaron, Prowler, all of that stuff. It's been about 16, 15 months since the first movie. And we meet this Spot pretty quickly. They get into a fight in a convenience store, and it was over an ATM thing. The way the fight was handled, the bread going through his stomach and everything, very creative. Reminded me of like the Portal games where you have to hit a portal there and then punch through the portal to punch the Spot. And he ties him up in a web to get to a school meeting, but then the Spot breaks out. And he brings Miles to the Collider. We go back to the first movie. I liked how important the first movie felt there, too, when they're talking about the Collider incident as if that was the spark for this whole franchise.
Yeah, and they're talking about the spider from the other dimension, which obviously comes back later, and the fact that it glitched in the first one. So this is a long time running, right? This is a long time coming. This isn't just we're fixing things. We have become so broken-brained because of like Star Wars is fixing things, from shows in the past. If you just have a good plan, you can do stuff like this, sprinkle it in the first movie, in the second, third movie, everything pays off. It's kind of nice when there's just like good, smart, creative people in control of projects, right? Like this is the really good kind of shit you get.
And I mean, we'll talk about Succession later. I thought the same thing for Succession. I think I read a Tommy Smokes tweet where he said, like, I would love to know when they came up with the ending. Same thing for Spider-Verse. When did they have this whole storyline? Did they finish Into the Spider-Verse and then say, let's take it from here? Did they know that was going to be such a hit that they just wrote out like a trilogy? I would love to know the answers to all of those questions.
Is there a whiteboard? Is there a whiteboard? Is it a chalkboard? Is it just a file, like a really big file on a computer?
Is it a red board for Spider-Man? Do you, a different color? You change it up a little bit, make it fun?
That fight with Spot, and again, I this is just kind of coming off the top of the brain. I think that was like my favorite part of the movie because it was fun action and it was funny, and just the dialogue between them, and the villain of the week, and he kind of takes exception to it, and they're going back and forth, and he's like and again, like these gray area villains where he's not a bad guy, but he's even saying he's like, I'm just doing this because I can't make money any other way or live any other way because my fucking body is just, white and spots at this point. So I like that. And I like their whole dynamic, even with like the bodega guy, he's, warming up the beef patty or whatever. I don't know. Maybe it's like the New Yorker me, but it's like, I could see this happening in a crazy New York universe as someone that's been in a bodega a million times. Was there a bodega cat running around? I didn't see that, but that's the only
there
part
probably was. Yeah. I wonder if that was like the multiverse version of the bodega guy from Queens and the MCU or something, that guy's great. He flattens out the sandwich for Spider-Man, makes him super flat and everything. But I love the Spot's backstory as well. Like Miles kind of in a roundabout way created the Spot. The Spot was a scientist that worked on the Collider, and he was like basically like trapped in the Collider experiment, whatever made him the Spot. It took away his face, took away his family, took away his job. And Miles also hit him with a bagel on his way out. So the guy who got the little bagel thing Into the Spider-Verse is this Spot. Another great callback, another great reference. And I loved the scene where he's sitting with his parents across from the teacher, and she's like, we want you to go to Princeton or whatever. And they go, New Jersey. Got a huge laugh in a New Jersey movie theater, of course. and that scene, him getting a Spanish B+, and his mom is ready to kill him. So funny.
The parental dynamic he has is so good, especially with
his parents are great. Yeah.
His parents are great. Okay. I have to say it. I don't want to say it, but I'm going to say it because it would not be an honest podcast. How do I say it is the question. I'm horny for Mrs. Morales. All right? It's just what it is. I'm in love with her. I'm not horny for her. I love Mrs. Morales. She's on screen. I just fawn over myself. I know she's a goddamn cartoon, but cartoons like Jessica Rabbit's hot. Fucking yeah. I'm not calling her like
the bracket just did the hottest cartoon characters.
Oh yeah, there we go.
They had a list of 16 of them.
She should make the list. She's hot. She's beautiful. She's fucking wonderful. Whatever good adjective you could attach to a human being, she is. She touches them all. She's the goddamn best. And I swoon when I see her on screen, Bob. I'm in my seat. swooning. I'm too big to
You're
swoon, and I'm swooning.
you're ready to let the canon event happen, so you could swoop in there.
Yeah, I'm like, be a real shame if Mr. Morales were to fucking fall off that building. A real shame indeed. How we doing, Mr. Morales?
You're like, Spot, he's over here. He's over here.
Oh, that would be great if like there's just some big fucking, like I'd be like Cream Cheese Man, just some big overweight blogger, like get him, and I'm just trying to move in on his girl.
Oh, we need someone to draw you as Cream Cheese Man. That's like in Batman, there's Condiment King, and he just shoots ketchup and mustard at people. Like you could absolutely be Cream Cheese Man.
Cream Cheese Clem. Oh,
someone needs to draw that. Let's get some bonk comments in the chat for Clem as well after that. Let's get some bonks. People love bonking. Let's get it in the comments there.
I'm telling you, every time it's on screen, like it doesn't stop. I'm just like, I love her. She's so goddamn beautiful. She's so goddamn awesome. And someone made a point too. I saw the other one later on, the other Miles, he has more of a Spanish flair to him, and it's because his mom raised him. And I like that side of things. Oh,
you're right. I didn't even think about that. When he says like Morales, he gives it a little like, I like that. Someone
called him Miles No Morales too, because he was immoral. And I was like, oh, I love we have all the nerds just pumping. The brains are moving on overdrive right now.
I love this is the perfect movie for the nerds to go wild with. It's literally like an open sandbox for the nerds to just let their imagination run wild. Gwen visits Miles, but it's kind of an incognito mission on behalf of the Spider Society to check out Spot. He's not fully familiar with that yet. She meets his parents. That was a very funny scene when he's getting the cakes made and he has both cakes come. And then the only thing it says at the end is, I am not proud. It's like, oh God, that's classic Spider-Man hijinks. And the meeting with the parents being so awkward with Gwen and her having to leave right away. I was like, yep, that's what it feels like trying to introduce a girl to your parents when you're a teenager. Incredibly awkward every single time. I should have turned to the teens next to me and been like, hey, you know what that's like, eh?
Hey, guys, fucking nerds. They don't know what those guys don't have a girl at their house, Robbie. That's why they're at the movies with themselves acting like fucking dickheads on a Thursday. They don't know what that is. Exactly. Us guys, we had girls at our house every fucking night of the week.
Us, Sunday, we couldn't keep them out of the basement. So Gwen is secretly watching Spot, and Miles goes invisible and secretly watches Gwen secretly watching Spot. It's the whole, Did that hurt?
That hurt me as a Miles guy. I'm like, damn, he's just here for business. He's saying for pleasure. It broke my heart.
That hurt a lot. And even later on with the Peter B. Parker scene where Miles thinks that he ratted him out and Peter B. Parker definitely didn't. That I was just like, Miles is losing trust in everyone right now. It's tough. And that's what you got to do to a character in this, cliffhanger second movie, I guess. But he follows her through a portal to Mumbattan, where we meet Spider-Man India and Spider-Punk. Now, if you know me, you know I was looking forward to Spider-Punk a ton. A British rock star Spider-Man. This guy was up my alley immediately. I think his name is Hubie Brown. I played as him in the Spider-Man video game just because he has a mohawk. He wears like a denim vest. He was very much like a Robbie Fox Spider-Man to me. So going into this movie, I was like, one, please let him have like a real role. I don't want him to have like a 2-second pop in and you see him. And two, let him live up to that expectation that I have for him. Oh my God. Spider-Punk lived up to every expectation I had and more. He was the coolest motherfucker in this movie. Daniel Kaluuya does his voice. That helps him be cool because Daniel Kaluuya is one of the coolest actors in the game right now. But he is my guy. I'm declaring it right now on My Mom's Basement, June 2nd, as we record this. Spider-Punk is my guy. And he's coming in like Han Solo in the next movie. I thought he was going to do it in this movie when he's like, I'm getting out of here. I don't, go with the establishment, goes into his portal. I was like, that sounds a lot like Han Solo being like, enjoy the Death Star run, kid. I'm definitely not even going to think about it.
And he even dropped off the little gift later. So that's a great point. By the way, Hobart, not Hubie, Hobart or Hobie. Because Hubie Brown is a very old NBA announcer. He used to be a coach. And I swear to God, I cannot have those two overlapping in my brain. I was like, if they name this guy Hubie in the comics, I'm fucking out. Because this guy, I like punk culture and all that kind of stuff. Not usually my cup of tea, but I really have no problem with it. I have to say, in this movie, he grew on me big time. When he first came out, I'm like, if this guy's going to be in my face the whole time, I'm just going to have a problem with it. And by the end, I'm like, I fucking love this guy. I have to choose a guy now, basically. I have to choose a guy.
Yeah, you got to have a guy.
I'm going to watch the next movie. I'm going to watch it again this weekend, and I'll come back with my personal Spider-Man. Obviously, yours is Punk.
I feel like Peter B lends
yeah.
himself to you as a father now.
He's
especially.
that's my guy. It is Peter. As I was saying that, especially when his little baby came down with the web and pointed, I
So
was like, I
great.
fucking love this duo right here. And Mary Jane is just cool as fuck. She's like, did you take my baby to another battle right there? So I'm
He's like,
sold.
don't
Peter
tell
B's
mom.
my guy. He's wearing the pink bathrobe. So all right, so Peter B, and we got
Spider-Punk.
Spider-Punk.
Yeah. I need like the action figures. I need a Spider-Punk t-shirt. I'm ready to go all in on him. And when he takes the mask off too, I love Miles' line where he's like, how are you cooler under the mask?
Yeah, that I have to say, I was like, oh fuck, they really nailed this guy from top to bottom. Like he just absolutely crushed it. I was thinking, can we do our Avengers barstool t-shirt with all the Avengers, except it's all just a different Spider-Man? But I'm like, I think everyone, would they look the same? Or I'm like,
Yeah.
how did that even work?
We're like, Nathan Hurst, simplify this so they all look different, but they're all Spider-Man. He's gonna be like, are you guys fucking kidding me?
These guys are so fucking stupid. Why do I keep listening to them?
By the way, I got Nathan Hurst fully into wrestling. This guy went from a non-wrestling fan to watching every week, watching every AEW pay-per-view. I see him tweeting along. Nothing makes me happier than getting someone into something I love, like wrestling or comics or a certain band or something. Yep. Seeing them start to love it and like go all in. I was like, every time I see him tweeting about a pay-per-view, it makes me feel a little warm inside. I'm like, I did that shit.
We did that with our boy Sam Lauderdale too. Remember there was a show. He was like, I'm not really, and then he's like, fucking got him into it. So
Last of Us, it was, I think.
Yeah, Last of Us. Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, it's like watch this show and have your heart ripped out every single week. That's a great time.
Literally. So they go to Spider-Man India's home, Mumbattan. Spider-Man India, by the way, very cool. He's got cool hair coming out of the mask and everything. And he's like a little too perfect for Miles. He's like, you don't do anything to that hair? He's like, nah, nothing but a little coconut oil or whatever.
Doesn't even work out, this fucking guy.
Doesn't work out. He's like, I don't want to get too buff, Cracked me up. His world design being so bright and colorful. Awesome place for this big fight scene to happen. And this is where Miles disrupts a canon event. So we learn a little later that every Spider-Man has like the Detective Stacy that passes away and becomes, that Spider-Man becomes a better Spider-Man because of that. Having watched one of their idols, heroes, friends, family die in a battle with one of their enemies. In this universe, it's Detective Singh who is supposed to die in this battle, and Miles saves him. So this disrupts a whole entire canon event in the universe. Spots start opening up all over the place. The Spider Society has to come in and basically clean up the mess. They're like the pest control people in Breaking Bad or whatever. It's like when John Wick. Yes, it's when John Wick kills everyone in the house and he calls up that guy and he's like, come on, clean this up. Yep. So they come in. Miguel O'Hara's pissed right away. Like you could tell this guy isn't your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man at all. He's very much has a mission to do, has a job to do. He's upset at all these kids. He's like, we need to see you in the Spider-Verse HQ essentially to assess the damage. He doesn't call it the Spider-Verse though. He actually says that dumb later on. It's like the arachnoid humanoid multiverse connection or whatever. He's like, I guess that sounds dumb
Spider-Verse
too.
is really dumb.
So they go to the Spider Society HQ. We get a bunch of Spider-Men, Spider-Women, cars. Like I said, Peter parked car. I loved the one where Spider-Man is like, Miles is like, oh, I'm Spider-Man. She's like, oh, really? No way. So are all of us.
Yeah, that was great. The T-Rex. I love the T-Rex being there.
The T-Rex was a great one. I
Spider Horse or what was it?
Web Slinger.
Web Slinger.
That was really cool. Why is the horse wearing a mask? To conceal its identity. I was like, yep, that's amazing. That's perfect, like Spider-Verse level humor. There was the Spider-Verse I grew up with from the early 2000s. I saw shots from both Tobey and Andrew Garfield movies. We saw not them, but like them on screens, and there was like a hologram of Andrew Garfield. Theater went wild for both of those. Like people pointing to the screen. Oh my God, do you see that? Do you see that? I saw like the comic cover, very famous comic cover of the wedding of Spider-Man and Mary Jane. That was flashed on screen at one point. But in my opinion, and I think most people's opinion, the highlight of the cameos in the Spider Society HQ was Donald Glover, live action as Prowler. He's in a spider prison. There's kind of all villains. And I was expecting like a fun villain cameo when they start going down the list. And it's just like a Spider-Verse Rhino, a Spider-Verse Electro. I'm like, oh, we're going to see one we know, don't we? Never in a million years would I have thought, oh, Donald Glover is going to reprise his role from Spider-Man Homecoming, where he says like, oh, I got to get to my nephew or whatever. And everyone has said since that movie came out, oh, maybe he's the Prowler, right? And it's kind of just like more of a fun headcanon thing than anything, because I never expected them to really follow up on that. But to have him just sitting there, cool as a cucumber, like with the nails and everything, and he's like, it's rude to stare. Oh my God, that was awesome.
Biggest reaction of my theater, I'd say by far, was that one. And I didn't realize the whole backstory with, again, my guy Heavy Spoiler was saying, he has the Spider-Man outfit on in Community, and it kind of got the Miles Morales ball rolling.
Totally. He was like the inspiration of Miles Morales in a weird way.
Yeah, and now he can't really do it because Miles Morales is like a teenager or whatever, you know, college student. So just fucking awesome, man. Like there was a lot of moments in this movie, and it's a fucking cartoon, man. And the animation, by the way, you said it before. What'd you say, 3 years to make this?
5, I think.
5 years. Jeez. Did you see the thing I tweeted out yesterday? I quote retweeted it actually. It was
the Oppenheimer thing.
Yeah, yes. It's 11 miles long and 600 pounds. That's the IMAX film prints for it. And it's like, I need every stat about the man hours that it took just make this movie, the amount of animators, the amount of food they ate during all this, the amount of coffee they drank. Like, just give me a fucking Elias stats, real stats on everything about this movie, because it's incredible. Just all the different. It looked awesome, and then like that's the thing. If it looks awesome, it's great. If there's action, it's great. But it's like the fun little nods with the comedy. That's when you just have a 5-star out of 5-star, and we're just nerding out. We're having nerdgasms about it.
This is Nerdgasm Podcast. We're having a great time talking about this movie. We meet Spider-Man 2099. He very slowly sinks from the ceiling. And in that scene, I was like, this is going so slow. How long is this going to be? And then they make a joke about it, of course. They're like, I know, that's his thing. Just let him do it. And from the second he's flashed on screen in this moment forward, he feels like a villain. He feels like a straight up villain. The way he looks dead on the inside, his eyes, he's like shooting himself with the spider venom. It's like, I'm a little different than all these Spider-Men. We get a little bit of his backstory teased here, just enough where it's like, okay, he lost his family in the past and he's doing this all for them or whatever. I think the next movie, my prediction, Beyond the Spider-Verse, will open with an expanded Miguel O'Hara backstory in the same way that this opened with an expanded Gwen Stacy backstory. I think that would be a cool way to go. Miles, Gwen, Miguel in your entire trilogy. But he explains.
I think that's a good call. So I remember when Spider-Man 2099 and all the 2099 comics came out. I read some of them, and it was futuristic. I'm not a big futuristic and space were two things I never got into in this comic side of things. So I don't remember how much of this mirrors that. I like your call. I'm also going to say this could be completely wrong. Like, Jose might puke his guts out if you even heard this theory I'm about to come up with. Maybe like he's supposed to be like the Lizard or the Doc Ock of his universe, but somehow the spider got crossed, and that's the spider venom, as he wants to be Spider-Man.
Ooh,
I don't know how
I don't even know the story. I'm sure everyone listening to the podcast knows more than us when it comes to this, but I like your Spider-Verse theory of like Spider-Man 2099, especially when we're talking about you weren't supposed to be Spider-Man. Your Spider-Man doesn't even have, your universe doesn't have a Spider-Man. All of that talk, I could see them changing some shit up here.
It's like the politicians that want to change all the laws for people that are different, and then you find out they're doing stuff behind the scenes that is just like all the people they're trying to abolish, right? So I could see that kind of thing happening here with what's his name, Miguel O'Hara, Miguel O'Hara, yeah.
And shout out Oscar Isaac on the voice. It's the voice combined with the animation, but by the end of the movie, when he's screaming at Miles, I was like afraid of him. I was like, oh shit, he's like a pretty scary animated villain at this point. Do you agree?
Oh yeah, no, it was scary, man, and that's this movie made me think. I think they can do animated movies for a lot of their big projects, and it's not going to hit the same as live action, but it's going to make a shitload of money, and you just have so much more They couldn't do 1/10 of the shit they did in terms of action in a real movie, right? It just wouldn't have worked. It would have looked just clumsy or whatever, and it looks so beautiful. These things were made to be fucking drawings. That's what comics are. So I thought it was awesome. And I again, between this movie and then the X-Men cartoon that I love, X-Men 97, that's about to come back out, like, why can't, like, if there is superhero fatigue or whatever, why can't we just remix it a little and say, all right, let's throw a couple more animated projects out there. Money's not going to be an issue. You're going to make it all back and then some. So keep it fucking rolling. So yeah, the fact that he turned into this guy as an animated character is kind of amazing.
Awesome. And he's Moon Knight. He's Apocalypse from X-Men. This guy, he's not afraid to dive into the comic zones every now and then. And I like that about him too. Some people are very like, I don't want to be associated with that. I just want to do my Ex Machinas. It's like he'll go do his fun Ex Machina indie projects or A24 projects, whatever.
Hey,
but then he'll come back and make a bag.
Daddy got to eat. Yeah, exactly. He has to get money, man.
So he explains canon events to Miles in this moment, and then Peter B. Parker shows up with Mayday, his daughter. She's got the Spider-Man beanie on, the little hat. I love that as well. And they explain that for Spider-Men and Spider-Women, familial deaths are part of the gig, essentially. It's whether it's Uncle Ben, whether it's Captain Stacy, whether it's Aunt May for Tom Holland, you kind of have to go through this. And this was explained to Tom Holland in No Way Home, and he kind of like has to deal with it because it's explained to him after Aunt May dies. Miles, on the other hand, gets it told to him before his father dies. And he realizes, he puts together, okay, in my universe, the canon event is the Spot killing my father, the police captain. He's just getting promoted to police captain. So he wants to change it. And I saw a great tweet where it's like, everyone tells Tom Holland this as Spider-Man. And he's like, he cries. He's like, oh, man. And then they tell Miles Morales this. And he's like, what the fuck? No, I'm changing that. You're not killing my dad. Are you crazy? So he goes to try to save his father from
By the
Spot.
way, I had it piss for like a half hour. And I was like, all right, I think I got it now. And I left and I missed the whole your dad's gonna die reveal. So I kind of
missed that.
I figured it out post, like during while I was watching it, and they had mentioned, I'm like, okay. So I don't know, like probably like 2 minutes because I ran my fat ass out of there and ran it back as fast as possible. Did you see that the Taylor Swift fans are pissing in diapers? Did you see those?
I saw that. That's
TikToks?
crazy.
So
that's crazy.
If again 2 hours and 20 minutes, you guys made it a little too long for me. I was looking at the clock. I'm like, I
had to pee like 30 minutes in. I held it the whole time, and I pissed like the fucking Spider-Man racehorse when I got to that theater.
So I don't think I missed too much. So this part I'm kind of vague on. So they don't actually they just say your dad is going to die. Is that what they say?
They don't. They imply it very heavily, and then they show deaths also. Like, did you see the Andrew Garfield part?
With Gwen?
They show Andrew Garfield standing over Captain Stacy in his universe.
Yeah,
crying. Yeah. So they show that, and Miles puts it together in his head. His father just got promoted to captain, and all the other, when he puts it together, he kind of says like, so my dad's going to die. And all the Spider-Men look at him and they're like, yeah, come on. That's part of the gig. And he's like, no, what are you talking about?
Yep. And because I'm like, oh no, we're good. We have the uncle. That's his fucking tragic death. But that's the villain side of things. I'm like, can't we just get by on like a technicality, right? It's like
I know he had his Uncle Ben, but it's like with Andrew Garfield, he had his Uncle Ben, and then he had his Captain Stacy moment too. I think.
I'm saying this,
which I haven't seen that movie in forever. I could be wrong on that.
I'm saying this right now. I don't care if we have a podcast that we cover all these movies for, and I don't care that it's just a bunch of digital paint. If they kill Mrs. Morales in the fucking next movie, I'm not reviewing it.
You're out.
I'm never watching the fucking series again, basically.
Out on Lord and Miller in general. Anything they make in the future, out on them.
Yeah, anything, if it has the little graphic in the beginning, I'm like, oh, I'll leave the movie theater. I'm like, I didn't know they were doing this. It would be, they're canceled in my mind. I will cancel the fuck out of them if they kill Mrs. Morales. Even if there's a billion other Mrs. Moraleses in a billion different universes, that's my girl. That's my animated girlfriend.
No. That's your girl.
That's not a weird thing to say.
Not at all. Not in the slightest. We'll get you one of those life-size pillows of her, too. That's not weird either. So Miles flees, and I loved that there was a Spider-Man that went like, there's nowhere to run. And then he runs, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry. I guess there was somewhere to run. He goes,
that was a great line. I like
gets on this massive train where all the Spider-Men are coming after him. And the whole movie, he's kind of learning to use that big shock, putting like the full palm on the shock.
Venom thing.
Yeah. He's able to use it here, and not before he's told, as we mentioned, his spider that bit him was from a different dimension. So it was Earth 42, I believe. So shout out Jackie Robinson. Shout out Mariano Rivera. he gets bitten by that spider, his universe now doesn't have a Spider-Man because of that. So his existence is kind of a broken canon event. He's like, you are the original anomaly. So this is, at this point, just a straight up Miguel O'Hara versus Miles Morales story. And he's able to escape. He goes back to that machine where we haven't even mentioned it, but it was like the go home machine. And I forget the name of the girl that ran it, but I liked her too. And I'd like her to be more in the next movie that ran it through like an Oculus Rift. She's like a virtual reality avatar Spider-Man. I was like, that's fucking great. And he gets in there and is able to go quote unquote home. But now we got to think, what universe did he get sent to? He was sent to universe 42. We don't know that right away, right up front. But when he goes home, the whole movie, he's thinking, should I tell my mom? Should I tell my parents that I'm Spider-Man? He's like, fuck it. Now's the time. He reveals it to his mom. And she's like, I don't know who you're talking about. Are you crazy? Are you high? Spider-Man? What is that? He's like, the superhero. She's like, that's very cute. You go to Comic-Con? Are you going to Comic-Con dressing up as your favorite character? He's like, I don't know what Comic-Con is. Then Uncle Aaron walks in. And you're like, oh, fuck. And at the same time, they almost did the Silence of the Lambs thing. You're at the wrong house, where Gwen Stacy looks like she's about to go into his window. And then she goes into an empty room. It's like, what's going on here? Uncle Aaron's here, so you know we're in the wrong universe. He brings him up to the roof, and he's acting kind of sus with him. And he's being shady. He's being very short with him. Miles gets attacked, tied up to a heavy bag, just like Peter B. Parker was in the first movie. We find out that in this universe, Uncle Aaron is not the Prowler. The Prowler is Miles Morales. See, I did the little thing on Morales there. Takes the mask off. He's got like braids and everything. And Uncle Aaron was just onto this other universe's Miles right away. He knew it wasn't his Miles. Gwen, on her side, realizing that Miles is in the wrong universe, talks to Miles's parents very briefly, and then assembles a team to go rescue him. The team including a lot of the characters from the first movie. So you got the Spider-Man Noir, Nicolas Cage. You got Peter Porker. You got the Spider-Man that Gerard Way created. That's just like an anime girl in a big spider suit. She came back, and the characters from the first movie in this scene got a big reaction in the theater too, which I was like, what an indictment on the first movie already becoming kind of an instant classic. Is that an indictment? Is that indictment? Is that the right word? Indictment? Fucking A. I can't.
Is indictment a word?
My English is bad this week. I don't know what happened.
I love you, Bob. I think it gives. Who is it? Qui-Gon. You say Qui-Gon like there's
Qui-Gon. Yeah.
I can't say the Emperor's name. It's just
Palpatine. Yeah, that's part of the pod. Listen, we're not the smartest in the world. We never claim to be. Another Spider-Man that before we're pretty much done with the movie recap. Forgot to mention Ben Reilly, Scarlet Spider, is in this as a villain. He's part of, not a villain, but he's part of Miguel O'Hara's Spider Society. And the way he's drawn and handled, Andy Samberg does his voice, is so great. I think a lot of people don't like this Spider-Man. They call him like a little emo, whiny bitch. So the fact that he's like, oh, I'm thinking about my past. I can't stop sulking about it. Like that deep, almost Batman level voice. I thought that was really funny. I think he's going to have a lot more to do in the next movie as well.
Yeah. So that was a great twist. And, I want to say I had it figured out pretty quickly. I don't think I did though, as I'm like just piecing it back together. I was so fucking confused. And then I was just like, oh, fuck. And then when Gwen goes to the empty room, like, oh, we are in. Again, it's not the worst thing in the world. If Mr. Morales cannot be saved, I'm there. Like that
was tough when he looked up and he saw the painting too, the Rest in Power, but it was his dad instead of his uncle. That was like that was Mr. Krabs. Your world is closing in on itself. Oh my God. Miles' room, I didn't pick up on it right away. I was very confused about what was happening, but I could tell his room was different in the other universe, and there was purple all over it, Clem. He had a purple record player. He had a purple poster. He had a purple hoodie on. And now it's like, oh, that's because they were trying to tease he's the fucking Prowler in this world. But I can't wait to go back and kind of see more things like that throughout the movie. The things you pick up on the second watch.
By the way, something I picked up on the first watch, J. Jonah Jameson, I loved his voice being back in it. That was incredible. And I heard something about in the 42, the Sinister Six cartel, they said. And I'm like, these guys got a legitimate cartel going on here. So
no Spider-Man to stop him.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm trying to figure this out. I guess this is like almost a prediction for the next movie. Do we think that Miguel has anything to do with either of the Miles, either 42 or the original Miles Morales? Does he have anything to do with that? Or is he kind of from his own thing and he's just going to, because it's like, is the message here, like the message of Spider-Man shouldn't be, you have to follow this exact predetermined story to, get to become Spider-Man?
Gwen kind of realizes that when she talks to her dad and he's like, oh, I'm not taking the captain job. And I think that flips the switch in her mind where she's like, oh, we could break canon. Like,
yeah, exactly.
We get out of here. Yeah, get off the tracks and go our own way here. Yeah.
I hated her dad at first, and by the end I really liked him. Like when they had obviously their moment or whatever.
The way the colors were bleeding too at the end, and it got brighter as soon as their relationship got better. The whole the animation itself had to be written into the script, right? Like it had to be so calculated. Everything they did animation wise, it's a masterpiece of a movie. I really think it is.
If I could just talk to the person, I wouldn't even want to talk to the person that came up with all that little stuff, because it would make me feel so dumb and irrelevant. You know what I mean? It's like when I watched
back in 2018 when I thought of the ending of that movie in 2023. It's like, bro, I don't know what I'm gonna have for lunch tomorrow, and you know what you're gonna do 5 years from now? It's crazy.
It's like, yeah, well, when Gwen is a superhero, we paint her one way, and when she's a civilian, we paint her another, and then they bleed together. It's like, you fucking sick son of a bitch. I write 2 paragraph smut blogs every day, and I fucking feel like, a funny guy.
I just said indicament.
Yeah, he said indicament on your goddamn podcast, you goddamn morons.
It's an indicament eyesore, this movie.
Yeah, you know who her dad is, though, I realized? He's Mr. Incredible if he didn't have superpowers. Doesn't he kind of look like that?
That's good. When he wears the dress shirt and everything, he's miserable at dinner. Yeah.
Yep. And he still wants to help people, but he doesn't have the superhuman strength and all that. While Miles is basically, now we know obviously with the glitch, he's basically Vanellope von Schweetz from Wreck-It Ralph, right? He should have never happened. He's the original glitch and he's fucking everything up. So I'm gonna call it. I think Miguel is he's fucked up his stuff so wrong. He now wants everyone to fall in line. And now it's like, oh, you have to have a family member die, which then takes me to my next question. I would never make anyone answer this, but do you think any part of Miles at some point was which family member could I kill that would be good enough to appease the comic gods or the spider gods, but also not enough to make me really hurt? It's kind of you can't. Thanos couldn't have thrown Nebula off the cliff to get the Soul Stone, right? He had to throw Gamora. Is it literally mom or dad? Is there any kind of? I mean, he already lost the uncle, so it's who? I know. I'll be honest with you. I'm looking around. There's no one in the house. Everyone's got. I'm who would I have to kill?
Who gave me the least amount of money for my birthday last year?
Yeah, exactly.
But I still like them. Yeah, I liked the little mention too. I don't think I mentioned it yet when they shouted out Doctor Strange and that nerdy kid.
Oh, that was great.
In the beginning, he's like, "Oh shit, they're talking about Tom Holland." I liked that.
She's like, "Who's Doctor Strange?"
He's like, "Don't worry about it." Yeah. Fast food review for this movie. As always, for our movie reviews, we will compare it to a fast food item. We don't do the 5-ball scale. That's Glenny Ball's thing. We don't do the 5 stars. We don't do the 0 through 100. That's for Lights, Camera, Barstool. We just assign these movies a fast food item, and you could pretty much interpret that however you'd like. Do you want me to kick it off, or you got one, Clem?
Yep, you kick it off. I'll go, and I want everyone in the comments to leave their fast food review. I want to hear what everyone says, good, bad, and different.
Leave it for Across the Spider-Verse in the comments below, and thumbs up, of course. My fast food review is going to be a Five Guys cheeseburger, and now I say cheeseburger, not bacon cheeseburger. The bacon cheeseburger would be Into the Spider-Verse for me. That is a perfect fast food burger. That is just, you load it up. But being able to load it up is why I pick Five Guys here, because it's kind of a choose your own adventure with Five Guys. And it's the same way for Across the Spider-Verse. I watched this 2-hour, 20-minute movie, and my favorite character is a guy that was in it for probably 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Five Guys, same thing. I can eat a giant Five Guys cheeseburger. My favorite thing on it is those little mushrooms that you're able to put on. So I'm going Five Guys. One of the best. You could add on a Oreo milkshake. They get the cookies and cream milkshake. Oh, so good. Five Guys is right down the from our office. We're basically below the office. So you could tell I've had it a lot.
Five Guys is right near where I was to watch the movie last night. And if you had done this yesterday, I would have went to Five Guys tonight because now I really want Five Guys. By the way, hate to admit it, I have to go with like is there like one patty or two patty, right? It's like two patty,
Yeah,
right?
you go one.
I sometimes go one just because.
I do too.
Actually, no, I'm lying. I go two because I figure I'm going for the burger. I have to get the little fries though. I don't need that full bag.
Well,
of fries.
they also overload it, and then the small fry is basically a medium fry anywhere else. And tiny guy, I sometimes have to go single patty, and also people are gonna take my man card, but I really wear my heart on my sleeve. I tell the listeners of My Mom's Basement everything, my deepest, darkest secrets on this podcast. I've downgraded myself from the Baconator to the son of a Baconator. I can't do the Baconator anymore.
I fucking hate that you actually have a Baconator rotation and you look like you do still. This is how I know it's not just me. It's not just me. There's my fucking body, the chemistry inside, the metabolism. Because I haven't had a Baconator in years. And I'm not saying
this is my canon event, just looking like this. It can't change. No matter what I do, it doesn't change.
And like, you would have given anything to get the weight gain I had when you were younger, right? You wanted to be fighting. I was
trying to put on weight. Yeah, I was doing go mad, gallon of milk a day, throwing up. It was bad.
And I just wanted to fit in Aeropest style clothes when I was a kid. I couldn't even go in the store. I'm like, what's the point? I can't fucking buy anything there anyway because it's not going to fit. So that's a good one. Again, Five Guys. And listen, this is not Five Guys slander. Five Guys might be my number one burger joint out of all the established burger joints. But I go the double patty because I figure I'm going for the burger. You got to get the small fries. The thing about the fries is, and I love how they put it in the cup and they dump it because bag fries taste better. It's just a scientific fact. But when you see that grease on the bag, you just feel bad about yourself. Whether you look like me, you look like Rob, no matter what, you feel bad about yourself when you're eating all those fries. And then like, there's only so much room in the human stomach, no matter how big you are. And that burger plus those fries, whew, I thought you were going to tell
peanuts when you're waiting for your order.
Yeah, exactly. You got to throw some peanuts in. Yep. Bob, I'm not a mushroom guy, so I won't. But I know people are mushroom people, so I'm not gonna. When you were like giving me that confession, I thought you were gonna say like you drink water at Five Guys or something, and I was gonna be like, I'm out. And with that, I'm out. Mark Cuban gift, right?
You gotta get a soda or a milkshake.
I like that. My fast food review is kind of similar to yours in that it plays off the other movie as well. This is, and I know you're a fan of this one as well, the Wendy's Pretzel Pub chicken sandwich.
Oh yeah,
because there's a lot of stuff going on. You have your chicken, you have the pretzel bun, which pretzel buns are so good. I actually just bought some at Stu Leonard's last night.
I saw your picture, it made me jealous.
I
zoomed in on those pretzel buns. I was like, oh, pretzel buns. That's like me, Homer Simpson at donuts. I see a pretzel bun, I start drooling.
And let me tell you, Bob, I'm not gonna lie, that could be a burger, but that also just may be a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich this weekend too. Like the pretzel bun it can work any time of day, just like at Wendy's. It has the chicken, it has the pretzel bun, but it also has the cheese sauce. It has like, I think, the onion frizzles. You know this better than I do. It's some bacon on it too. Is that right?
Yeah.
So I consider this one the chicken sandwich. I personally think the burger is better. I'm more of a Wendy's burger guy. That would be the first Spider-Verse movie. This one is the chicken. And fuck, I hope Beyond the Spider-Verse is like some sandwich that haven't come out. The spicy pretzel pub. Oh man, do that Wendy's. I fucking love the Wendy's spicy chicken. So it has a ton of different stuff. You're not sure how it's all going to work. It should all work. You put it together and you have a fucking masterpiece. You have a work of art. You have some eye candy.
Eye candy. It's
Mouth
not
candy.
An eyesore. It is eye candy. And honestly, I expect the reviews are already pretty unanimously positive. I expect just more and more of that as people see it. Now it's mostly just critics, people that saw screeners or whatever. The next weekend, I expect to see memes, GIFs, pictures, people at the, one ticket, please, to what? And then they cut to them and they're wearing the full Spider-Man costume. I think this movie is going to make, I don't want to say $1 billion. I don't know if the first one made $1 billion. This movie is going to make a lot of fucking money.
So I forgot to mention this too. At my theater, I got there a little late, like I said, so I couldn't have popcorn, which killed me. But again, I'm going with the kids. I don't need to have popcorn twice in a weekend. I'm at the point of life. I have to start thinking smart about that kind of stuff. I got in and the guy's like, choose your seat. And there was like 3 open. And the one that was open, I got lucky. It was right at the end and it was a good seat. It was like halfway up. I couldn't believe how many people were there. Cause like, we go to these opening day or opening weekend movies. And at least by me in the burbs, you'll kind of have like a half full theater for like a decent movie too. Jammed, huge reaction. And again, this isn't a Spider-Man live action movie. This is an animated movie. And I feel like that probably takes a little, make it more kids, but you're going to get less adults, I feel, that are casual fans. And they fucking, like, there might be a chance of, like, do you think there's an earnings out already for the first day?
There's definitely a weekend estimate. I saw the projection was 150 million, which would be fucking colossal for the first weekend. Like, I think that's a massive, massive, massive first weekend.
Think about what this movie's going to do after the Kings of YouTube fucking, you know, wax poetic and suck.
The Kings of YouTube. Also, Spider-Man India. There's 1 billion people in India. If you got Matson numbers, you know, there's 2 billion people in India. Yeah. Maybe you can mess those numbers. There was also, so I couldn't go to my Jersey City movie theater. Every showing was sold out. I had to go to Paramus. Wow. There were probably, like, every theater was showing. There were probably 20 showings. There were 4 showings in Paramus yesterday, all in Hindi, no subtitles.
They cracked the code, man.
They cracked the code. They're going to do multiple languages, multiple, like, cultures and everything. And you could, I mean, if you released this movie in India, watch the box office skyrocket.
They make a Chinese Spider-Man. Like, Sony might be able to buy
voiced by John Cena.
So I'm gonna, all right, you give me the number. Rotten Tomatoes critic score and audience score. We have 189 reviews from the critics and over 1,000 verified ratings from the audience here.
Guess what each one is?
Yeah.
Critics, I'm gonna go like 90 from the critics. I think it's pretty high.
Okay.
Audience score, I'll go even higher. I'll go 95 for the audience.
Critics, 95.
Whoa.
Audience, which is the one I think most of us go by at this point because the critics have fucked up so many times, 97. 97%.
For over 1,000 reviews too. Like, wow.
And listen, all we've learned, all Rotten Tomatoes is thumbs up or thumbs down. It's not like a give it 1 to 100 score, but you don't see 97s very often, right?
No,
and the fact
almost never.
This thing has that kind of score. Let me see what the Guardians settled at for reference. 82 critics, 94 audience. So this hasn't beat, killing them on the critic side, and hasn't beat with the audience as well. With that's 10,000 plus verified reviews. So, I mean, with those kind of numbers, and again, people that aren't nerds or even diehards are just like, oh shit, like there's a Spider-Man, I'll check it out. They go to Rotten Tomatoes and they see those numbers. Shit. And if you're Indian,
like, and you got a badass Spider-Man with cool hair, you're like, yeah, that's my guy.
If they don't have like, maybe we should just launch like Indian Spider-Man shirts on Barstool and have them up for a day. Just launch them in Barstool India, the Barstool India store, and
we can make a badass Mumbattan shirt.
Yep,
all colorful and everything.
I wanted to ask you this question too. In the next movie, because I think there's going to be a lot of battles and stuff like that, but we got a lot of our spider-centric stuff. Do you think there's a chance that as we go between dimensions or universes and just maybe it's discussion, maybe they make appearances, do you think we kind of get to see more of the alternate universes, friends and family members? Like, that's one thing I like is like the different Stacys, the different Aunt Mays, the different Mary Janes, but even like I'd like to see a couple Neds, right? I like to see like shit like that, you know? So
there was the one friend, Miles' roommate, says, "I'm not your guy in the chair." And he's like, "Oh, little shout out to Ned. I liked that."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Are you wearing my sneakers?" He's like, "It's not my fault. We're the same size and everything." That was really funny.
The J's right off him.
I liked that a lot. I would like to see more of that because it also humanizes each one a little more. Instead of just being faceless Spider-Man that is from a different universe, like show us a little bit of their life. And by the end, when they're sending Gwen Stacy back to her universe, I was thinking like, oh, fuck, how's she going to talk to her dad? Like, give us those moments just to make us feel those feelings, you know?
Yep. And for any like diehard Spider-Man people out there, like Spider-Man's your number one dude. Like Robbie, your guy's Batman, right?
Yeah, so but in Marvel, it's Captain America and Spider-Man for sure. Yeah. Like before the Captain America movies, I was a diehard Spider-Man. Like Toby movies were my thing.
Mm-hmm. I'm an X-Men guy. I guess Wolverine's kind of my guy, but it's more just the X-Men in general. But for anyone that Spider-Man is their guy, is this already the best Spider-Man like universe? If they stick the landing, is this the best Spider-Man trilogy? Because I think the Holland ones are pretty fucking good. I was just watching the first one the other day and I was like, wait, which one's with the Vulture? Is that 2?
First one, Homecoming.
That's the first one. Yeah, I was
That's
watching
the best one, I think.
and I was blown away. I was like, man, this is even better than I remember. And I only watched like the first half of it. There was so much fun stuff with all the cleanup with the Avengers and all that kind of stuff, with all the tech they had. And Keaton I loved Keaton in it. So I'm interested to see, is this trending towards the best Spider trilogy? Because people are saying maybe best superhero trilogy of all time, and it's so hard to do that. Like, I'm a Guardians. I
know.
So
I'm a Dark Knight guy too. It's like,
yeah, it's true too. So
tough for me to put it above that, but I do think it's trending towards best Spider-Man portrayal universe ever. And it's crazy. Like, I never would have thought as a kid, obviously Miles didn't exist, but who would have thought one day the best Spider-Man is going to be Miles Morales, and like the Peter Parker from the universe is like a schlub who wears sweatpants and is kind of like just a dad trying to figure it out.
Hey, you're talking to a schlub that wears sweatpants. It's a dad trying to figure it out. Put some fucking respect on us, all right?
But that's our Peter Parker, and we love him as much as any other Peter Parker we've ever met. It's crazy.
It's crazy. And I do think it will be one of those things that I imagine that's why maybe it's almost you have to give it to someone who doesn't have a character, where it's like, you're going to say the Spider, you're going to say Batman, I'm going to say Guardians, and people are going to say different things. Like the Spider-Man are going to say one of the Spider-Man ones, but it's like the people who don't have anyone, I wonder if, and there's a ton of people that love Spider-Man that still have no clue who Miles Morales is, right? Like they just never got into the movies or the games. So it's going to be very interesting.
Because the games too. Oh my God, the next game looks so fucking good. I'm going to get back into the first game before the next game comes out.
Oh boy, when they have that live action, that is going to be able to print money.
So that's the other thing. Do you think the third movie ends with him just transitioning to live action?
I think that's because
it'd be kind of sweet.
When this movie ended, which again, I realized as I was reading some of the comments, I was most certainly not alone in not knowing that there was another movie coming up. Apparently, there was a lot of audience who was like, what the fuck? Right? And I was like, oh, is this the live action movie that Maddie fits? I'm like, that's a long leap of faith, and we have to figure out someone that looks like Miles Morales. I think that's going to be because now once that movie ends, I'm sure there's going to be enough of a conclusion. You'll be happy. But this is coming, and we're going to be able to print money off of it. And at this point, like, I have actual faith in the people that run this franchise of Spider-Man, just like I have with the other franchise of Spider-Man when Marvel's involved. We've seen plenty of instances where that's not the case. Oh, also, I had no clue the Venom, that girl from the Venom movie, I had no clue. Everyone was loving that one. That was like the second biggest pop, and I was like, this means nothing to me right now. I have no clue what's going on.
Meant nothing to me. Did you see the Stranger Things writers tweeted like, we have an idea for live action Miles, and it was Lucas from Stranger Things?
Ooh, I
kind of like that. He had the flat top in the last season, kind of like similar hairstyle as Miles. So I was like, I could see that. And also, he's young enough where if you wanted to bring him into the MCU, like Tom Holland can kind of be his mentor in the same way Tony Stark was, he could show Miles everything Tony taught him. And that would be a very cool way to continue that relationship.
I like that. Or Max could just be his Mary Jane. I mean, we already have but if they just make the final season of Stranger Things like a Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. It was like, this was Spider-Man all along. This was the Stranger universe, All right, let's talk about Succession. But first, let's talk about our friends at Gametime, who hooked me up with Paramore tickets this week at Madison Square Garden. One of the best concerts I've been to in years. It was so good. A 10 out of 10. And I made it there thanks to Gametime. It's the exclusive ticketing partner of Barstool Sports, created by fans for fans. Gametime is the ticketing app that makes it easier than ever to score last-minute deals on tickets to sports, concerts, and shows. They guarantee the lowest price as well. Ton of must-see concerts this summer. Taylor Swift obviously just rolled through. She's still on tour. Luke Bryan, I know, is on a huge tour. Mets, Yankees, you got all summer. Any kind of event, sport, show, Gametime will hook you up with. It's possible with their app. Biggest last-minute price drops can be found on the seats you never thought you could buy. And the purchase process just takes 2 taps and 10 seconds. Once you buy your tickets, they're delivered directly to your phone, no printer needed. And the app also allows you to share tickets with friends via text, so you can get into the game seamlessly. If they got to leave the seats, you don't have to go with them. Skip the hassle and enjoy the moment. Download the Gametime app or go to the website, enter your email, and redeem the code MMB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. The code is MMB for $20 off your first purchase. Gametime actually saved me with the Paramore concert. Tickets were so cheap that I didn't go bankrupt essentially afterwards, because I grabbed an Uber, from the office right after the show. 11:16 p.m. was when I called the Uber to Jersey City, usually about 20, 30 minutes. But the Holland Tunnel was closed and the Lincoln Tunnel had an accident in it. So it took me 3 hours to get home. And I didn't realize that Uber actually charges you more when it goes longer. So that was a $400 Uber ride from New York to Jersey City. So thanks to our friends at Gametime, I was able to get cheap tickets, and the Uber made up for what the ticket price would normally be. Wouldn't be able to do it without Gametime.
You just throw that onto this is the price of the night,
Yep.
and it's like, well, if the tickets
try not to
Uber,
think about it.
It's just fine right there. Oh my God. 11:16 p.m. By the way, fun fact. That's when I was born, May 21st, 11:16 p.m. There we go.
Wow.
So, a good time for me. Not as much a good time for our boy Bob, but always a good time with Gametime. Look at that.
Always a good time with Gametime.
There's your fucking tagline.
That's a good tagline. They should
always
use
a
that.
good time with Gametime.
All right, let's talk Succession. We've been doing Succession circle backs for a lot of this season, the final season. And I know we're doing this Friday. It was Sunday when it aired, but it was Memorial Day weekend. So maybe some people were late on it. I was like a day late on watching the finale. And I texted you like, I haven't watched it yet. I'm staying off Twitter. I was so afraid I was going to get something spoiled, but I didn't. I went into that final episode fully expecting to be incredibly right about Kendall. Him throwing his family to the side, him being the guy and being like, that's what Succession was all about. From first episode, he was meant to be the guy. They opened the final episode with a very Kendall-like, like listening to music, going into the office. Yeah. Today's the day, and we didn't get that. Spoilers for Succession. Spoilers. Series finale of Succession. We're about to spoil it. Tom at the top. Tom the king. He broke a few Gregs and he made a Tomlet. I cannot believe how that finale turned out. I thought it was a great finale, though. It was interesting. The way it ends, it doesn't leave you being like, yeah, unless you're a huge Womscams guy, I guess, or if you're part of the Shiv wagon, which she is in a way at the top now, right? It leaves you almost wanting to see like another season, which is a good thing. But for me, I was like, oh, how's it going to turn out with Tom? And is Kendall? I thought Kendall was going to straight up kill himself. I thought he was going to go to the top of the building and jump. But it was satisfying in that the final episode was captivating start to finish. Had a huge twist at the end with Shiv throwing, you killed a guy, so you can't be CEO in his face. And then him losing it, being like, no, I didn't. No, I made it up. I wasn't there. You know what? I wasn't even at the wedding. I didn't see you get married. It was like, what are you doing? And I think Roman's like, dude, like, what is happening? When he's squeezing Roman's head against the door, making him bleed and everything. It was a great, great, great episode and a great finale. And in the world we live in today, where almost every finale is judged under a magnifying glass and hated, I think they nailed it.
Yeah, I think they nailed it. I think some people wanted more from, I don't know. Like, if people liked it, they liked it. If they hate it, they hate it. Like, again, we're very much, this podcast reviews enough content that has so many voices about it. I've just learned to stop fighting it, right? I liked it. I thought it was perfect for what the show was. 3 awful people just got exactly what they deserved, and a bunch of stuff they didn't deserve. Literally billions upon billions of dollars, because that's where they end up, cushioning their fall. Like I said, the Tomlet, it's a meal for a king. That's the real meal for a king. And he basically is sentenced to like a life with a wife that hates him and
a pain sponge.
Yeah, he's a pain sponge. He basically pleaded for his job to a guy who told him how much he wants to sleep with Tom's wife and how she'll probably sleep with him. And Tom just ate that shit and smiled.
Does that make you uncomfortable, Tom? Does that make you uncomfortable? I was like, oh my! And he's like, no, we're grown men here.
Yeah, exactly. And Tom, he's like, I'm a worrier, and he grinds, and it's like he does all that stuff. Tom will die of a heart attack by like the age of like 55 because this job is going to wear him to a nub. But he's going to be dealing with someone who is like, I mean, we thought Logan was crazy. This guy's just like he's unhinged. He's a crazy person.
Doing coke on the election night, like all of that crazy shit that Logan would never like even think to do. Yeah. I also want to go back and rewatch Succession now through the eyes of this is the Tom story. Through the eyes of he is going to be the guy. He's going to rise through the ranks. Even season 4, there were moments in season 4 where, I mean, we talked about it the whole season. We thought he was going to get fired from Greg. We thought that look that he gave when him and Shiv get into the fight, and then he's just like staring up into the ceiling. It's like, that's the look of a guy that's fucked right there.
Yeah.
But no, he was just that worm that slimed his way to the top and kissed ass and basically took enough shit to make it to the top. And now he's going to give everyone that shit. He's going to be a horrendous boss. Even the way he was telling Greg, like, I think we can keep you on, but we're going to have to cut that salary in half.
Yeah. Greg survived. He's happy, but it's like, you thought your life sucked the last few years, dude. It's about to get worse because the big guy knows you fucking, betrayed him, for lack of a better term. And you're going to keep your job, but the pain sponge is what he's going to be, right? So it's all good.
And it's a good ending for him. Like, I know some people were like, is he going to be the CEO in the end? That would have been a little too unrealistic and too like, what do we do? Like, that doesn't make any sense with him here. But him kind of just still being the clown, kind of still being Tom's assistant by the end. I liked that. I also liked how they dealt with Logan having Brian Cox in the final episode, having the kids sit around and watch that video of him just talking about whatever with Carrie on the couch. Like, I thought that was cool. Instead of doing a flashback, you kept it within the tone of Succession. The scene with them in the kitchen doing the disgusting meal for a king, spitting into the thing. That was maybe the happiest scene in the series history. It's crazy.
They acted like kids in a family. We've all had those nights and days with our
late nights,
where we do silly shit. And then you watch the old home movies and there's, the thing your parents say or the kids say. And it's like it was such a running joke or whatever. And it humanized these awful, terrible people as much as any part of the show ever has. So yeah, you absolutely nailed it. And those were two of the more enjoyable parts of it all. And then you just realize, like, again, Kendall saying he didn't kill the kid in the middle of the office. You're like,
crazy.
Oh, you are just the fucking pits, my man.
Yeah.
And in the end, it all comes back to Tom. Which, did you see the viral clip about the triple play, the Wamscoms, and the name? And I know I think the writers or the creator debunked it. I'm believing this shit. You know me, I'm a conspiracy.
I want to believe it. I know. Yeah. I read your blog about it. I sent it to my girlfriend. I was like, it's a fucking triple play. It's the 1920s. We should have seen this coming.
And like, she had that before it went live. It's not like she, made this all up in her mind after it happened.
I was also thinking about her. I was like, she's got to feel like the best when that comes true.
Oh God.
We've made 10,000 theory videos for Star Wars, Marvel shows. We've had like maybe 2 hit. I think I had one Marvel show where I was pretty good on it, or a Star Wars show or something.
Crushed one.
Forget which one it was. Hitting on a finale like that, having your theory go viral like before the finale hits, and then it being true. Oh my God, that's a nerd's dream right there.
I really, really wish I had made some more Brandwagon videos, because I called Brandwagon being the king like 3 seasons before it happened. But if I had done a full video, I mean, my whole thing was, it's so boring. It has to mean something in the end. Not nearly as detailed as this one. But they can say all they want that, like, it was just a coincidence that the name was there. I try not to believe real life conspiracy theories, because then I think that gets you into a whole lot of trouble, as we're seeing on a daily basis, basically in this real world. So I'm going to have fun with this shit, where I'm going to like believe this kind of stuff. And then someone also pointed out how Tom, as the kids rounding third in, the first season,
the first episode,
and he tags him out, like, same kind of thing. Like,
ruthless,
Tom is fucking ruthless, and that's the reason why he makes the top. And listen, I haven't worked in like fucking corporate boardrooms and all stuff, but I worked in corporate America enough to know the fucking weasels, or I like to call them the cockroaches, like Tom, are the ones that always survive the nuclear blast. They fucking kiss their right asses. They're at the happy hours. They go out late. They schmooze with all the right people, and like their life is that, and their paycheck is awesome because of it. But like, their lives usually end up kind of like where you're sitting in the car, which, by the way, when he just puts out the hand, he really doesn't want to open it, and Shiv puts her hand on top, really doesn't want to hold it, and it's like they're not even holding hands. It's just they're just like two dead fish on top of each other. It was absolutely incredible.
It's like, I guess this is our life. We're stuck here.
And speaking of the Brandwagon, again, I was riding for Shiv. I knew it was a very long shot she was going to win, because it looked too good in the penultimate episode. But the fact that she played such a big role at the end, it ended up just she shivved her own brother.
She made the decision.
Kendall.
Yeah. It was her decision in the end. It was 6-6, right?
Yeah. And I don't care what anyone says. I'll go to my grave. I don't even know if this is true, actually. She helped the company by not letting Kendall take over. I don't want to say it'll be in a better place, because I don't know what the fuck Matt's about to do, because that dude is off his fucking rocker. But with Tom involved and Mattson, I think it won't crash and burn, where Kendall, as soon as he sits in that chair, something changes in him. He's just throwing out co-chair things to Stewie. That might have been when Chip was like, fuck this guy. And when she's like, I love you, but I cannot fucking stomach you. Like
Yeah.
it was perfect. And I didn't see that. I didn't think we were going to get a scene like that boardroom scene where they go to their own little separate room and they're just basically fighting it out. And Roman, like you said, is the one person
Roman's getting
like,
his ass kicked.
yeah. And then he's like, we're all bullshit. Like that's what
Yeah.
they've been since day one. Shiv is fucking great at the politics game, but she never is smart enough to realize how to like make sure she gets it. Kendall fucking gets 98% of the way there and then stumbles at the fucking goal line. And Roman is just a fucking wild child that like people seem to like, but he just doesn't have like the it about him, and he's definitely not the killer. So all that said, actually, there is one kid though.
One
that's
kid.
a fucking winner. And it's the guy that got his medals when our boy Connor was like, well, there was a first round of stuff in the house where we take stuff, and he just has that fucking shit-eating grin.
And the first round is just him right away, and he's like, it was just me. It's like, we know Connor. We know it was just you. He's a big winner. Years. Also, one of the biggest winners of the entire series, Willa, now lives in Logan Roy's house and is redecorating it. Like, she lives the life. She's in a pretty happy relationship, admitted happy. She's like, yeah, there's something about this that's nice. Boom.
Yep. And it's also to the point where like they say like, oh, she's not going to go with him and this and that. And she's in the house. Like she will be able to like be nice enough to Connor where it doesn't get weird, but maybe there's a friend who shows up and they're doing their thing. And like, I don't think they're gonna like. I don't think death will do them part. I think something else will do them part. But hey, Khan's needed this in his life. He needed a steadying influence, especially with his dad passing and his 3 siblings going to war and coming up short. Our boy got a double. And you know what? Once she realizes she's going to be the first lady in 4 years, she's not going to go anywhere.
No, first lady of the United States, absolutely. Great series, though. I don't know. Do you put this up there with the best? That was a big discussion afterwards. Will this go down as one of the best shows of all time? I go back and forth. Like, I loved it. Loved all 4 seasons. But to me, it's not a Breaking Bad. So I don't know.
Yeah, I almost think you need to put it in tiers, right? Where I say, like, the tiers, Breaking Bad, Sopranos, The Wire. It's so, like Game of Thrones. What's Game of Thrones
would have been there,
with the season finale
for sure.
I think it goes down to the A tier. I don't think I could drop it below the A tier though, because it did have such an impact.
And I don't even know, like, Thrones had so many good seasons and so many amazing characters and moments. I don't even know if I could put Succession above Thrones.
No, I can't. I definitely cannot put it above Thrones. So there's 100 different parts. Thrones stuff happened. I'm pretty sure, I could be dead wrong. And listen, I know there's going to be Succession super fans that'll call me out on it. I think when Mattson takes over in like the last scene of the show before everyone goes their separate ways, that was the first time a deal actually happened in the show.
Yeah.
Like we heard about Gojo and PGH and fucking
the company in the first season with the guy who was kind of addicted to Kendall and they hated each other. Yeah.
This was the first, I call it grown-ups entourage, where it's like, something's going to happen. It's going to happen. Doesn't happen. And then finally at the end, it happens. Sale goes through and, Kendall gets sad. So I don't think I could throw it up. I'd say it's like B tier for HBO, which is like S tier for basically any other show.
Anything else. Agreed. And it like, while it was, and we're not trying to like be down on Succession or Jeff D. Lowe is going to be pissed. He is going to be like, I'm killing both you guys. But I just don't know. When it ended, I was like, what an amazing show. What a phenomenal show. I wasn't like, that was one of the greatest shows of all time. A lot of great characters. I think it hurts a little bit that none of them are likable. I like, other than Connor, of course. But there wasn't like, what's the moment in Succession that made you go, yes, the most? Was it Kendall like turning on Logan in the press conference?
Yeah,
maybe like, but like they're all just narcissistic assholes. Where it's, how could you possibly like be so happy? And there's no feel good moments at all. That was, my mom asked me recently. We were down the shore for Memorial Day weekend, all getting ready for the Succession finale. She's like, should I watch that show? We were like, yeah, it's great. You would probably like really be entertained by it. She's like, does it feel good? And we were like, there's actually not a single feel-good moment in 4 seasons worth of it. So no. And she's like, man, then maybe I won't.
But you laugh your ass off though. That's the weird thing. It's not feel good, but you feel good while watching it because you're laughing at like Boar on the Floor, Greg's stupid shit.
Oh my God, Boar on the Floor, L to the OG.
L to the OG. I was cracking up. I rewatched just the scene when Logan has the UTI and they call him like the piss mad king. Like, that's hilarious shit. So
that I think maybe the funniest moment in the show is when they're on the cruise ship trying to decide, or not the cruise ship, they're trying to decide who to take the fall for the cruise ship, and they're on like the yacht, and Logan's just eating his meal, and Tom walks over and just takes something off his plate and eats it. Logan's like, what the fuck? He gives like, he's not even mad. He's just so confused. He's like, Tom, what the fuck? He's looking, he gives the Darth Vader look around. He doesn't know what's going on. But yeah, amazing show. Fun recapping it on the podcast. So fun talking about it.
Great memes.
The Office. Great memes. Some of the best memes. Greg the Egg is an all-time HBO character. There's a couple all-time HBO characters in this. I mean, Logan, for sure. The three siblings will go up there. Roman.
I think Roman might be the best character of the three because he has the most like absurd shit, right?
I also saw it. I think it was it in the after the episode thing? I think it was Jesse Armstrong or Jesse Strong, whoever the creator is, said that this whole show is almost a detour for Roman. Like for the other people, the other siblings, this is their life. He's like, Roman in the beginning was kind of just like a playboy, drinking, super rich, content with his life in bars. Then he got dragged into all of this and it became his life for a couple of years, but he's just going to go back to being a millionaire who gets drunk and is probably really sleazy with women immediately after the show ends.
Yeah. And now he doesn't have his dad in his life, which is going to probably be like a deep hole because of like, you can tell the way I even saw when he's in the UTI episode and he's like concerned about how he's like, you know, what's going to happen with him. So he is one of those characters that is interesting like that. I think this is almost a way to put it because everyone's like, is it an all-time show? Is it an all-time show? Well, if you're going to say like Mount Rushmore or whatever it may be, no, it's not. I'm going to make another thing. Do you think I'm going to say it's a Hall of Fame show because what do we always hear about? He shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. He should be in the Hall of Very Good. I think this show is too good to be in the Hall of Very Good because the writing is so good and the characters and the acting is so good. So because of that, I'm putting it in the Hall of Fame. It doesn't have a huge resume because it's only 4 seasons long. But again, I think that actually almost helps its case where it didn't have the drop off that some other things did. And I'm trying to think of a different player that I could compare it to because I think this is a little bit of strong of a comparison. Because he won an MVP, but it's almost like Terrell Davis with the Broncos back in the day. He won an MVP, won 2 Super Bowls. I don't think Succession hit that level, but it's like sometimes less is more. And I just think you bite into the Succession sandwich, and that shit is fucking delicious. And it may not be a fucking 6-foot wedge, but man, is it fucking good. So I think it's a Hall of Fame show. And again, you have to throw the music into it too with the intro. That's all part of it. And the way it played in pop culture.
Intro,
yeah. So you're saying Hall of Fame as well?
Hall of Fame, instant Hall of Famer, yeah.
First ballot Hall of Famer. There you heard
First ballot
Succession,
Hall of Famer.
First ballot Hall of Fame, My Mom's Basement. It's fucking on the board.
There you go. It's on the board. And that was the Succession recap and the Across the Spider-Verse recap. Almost an hour and a half into the podcast. If you've made it this far and you haven't given us the thumbs up or comment yet, please do so. It does help. Helps with the algorithm. We are the kings of YouTube, as you heard recently. And we will be back next week for, I don't know what we're going to do next week. It's the week before The Flash. Maybe we should do some kind of Flashpoint preview.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll figure something out. Something fun for the people.
We got to get Jose back in here too, especially because I saw he was at Spider-Verse last night.
He did opening night for Spider-Verse, which you know him in comic book movies. Special. He doesn't rush to the theater. He's like, I'll see it when I see it. I know the story from the comics. He's very okay with that. Spider-Verse, he's like, I'm there. So I haven't even texted him yet. I'm almost afraid to text him and be like, what did you think? I want to get his reaction like on the show.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I want to hear
I'll hit him up and we can see.
Starts breathing heavy into the mic when he starts thinking about the Spider-Verse.
And he is like a Spider-Verse guy too. He knows. You think
there's our guy. He can explain the whole fucking movie.
He knows a lot about Spider-Man. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to ask him where it stands in all this. So yeah, and I just want to make this point before we go. I feel like that was one of the low key. I don't want to say losers, but on the hot seat, the Flash was feeling good, and now it's like, you got 2 bars to climb if you want to be the best superhero movie of 2023 because Guardians and now Spider-Verse are there, and like you got at least get within.
A lot of people are saying the Flash has. People that have seen both are like the Flash has very, very, very similar story beats to Across the Spider-Verse.
Oh, that's a tough break.
So it's tough to get beat to the punch there for a movie that has apparently been done for like 10 years.
DC just can't fucking get out of their own way. It's like just put in the release date, they lose. Oh man, we'll see. I'm excited for that as well. So I'm going to go with good expectations.
Michael Keaton Batman. Listen, you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. We'll see you next week.